culinary artiste, doctor of Eastern medicine, herbologist.
So hey, we're gonna talk about all that, man. So we here cracking it open. We already started. What up, world, and welcome to another episode of Beer Talk Now. I'm your host D Neal, and we here. Thank you very much. We're here at the beautiful Lake Marion in Oakland, California, and I'm here with Mr. August Varlack. He is the founder, creator, owner, all of the above of Lo-Fi Kava. This is a non-alcoholic beverage that's going to hit you and make you feel like you're drinking alcohol. Cheers to you, brother.
Oh, cheers to you. Thank you.
So,
Thank
man,
you for having me here.
Before we get too crazy into it and talking all about the creation of this, man, I want to talk about your heritage. You know, being Jamaican. You know, were you born in Jamaica? Were you born in the States?
First of my family born in the States.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the siblings. I'm one of 13, the youngest.
Okay.
So they're all born back in the islands, back home. Aunties, uncles, siblings, the whole nine.
Gotcha.
Yeah, man.
So you were the first one born here, man.
Yeah.
Now, how was that for them as far as the growing up here and their perspective of like what being in the States is?
You know, when you were younger, it was a thing of prestige to be able to come over here and follow the American dream. So when we were young, it was a beautiful thing. And as we got older, it was like, what's going on? So, you know, I don't really talk about it. No one ever asked me about this. Hey, man, so this is new commentary.
We got to start with the culture first, man.
Yeah, so how was it? You know, it was an adjustment shift because in the home we spoke patois, we ate Jamaican food, and we grew up mostly in New York. And if you go to the Bronx and Queens, you're going to see a massive amount of Jamaican people, Jamaican culture, Jamaican food. So it was a nice transition having me born here where I had to integrate in the school systems. My siblings never went to schools here in the States, right? Not until college.
Wow.
So I'm definitely the eclectic unicorn to say here in the States. Yeah. To say.
You know, so with that, what was their focus? Because again, not going to preschool, elementary school, or middle school, high school. Like, how was that for you? Because again, being the one, not necessarily the black sheep, but being different from maybe their perspective of what your parents told them that to do. Because when you come to America, there's got to be a focus. It's a privilege. You need to handle your business. How was that in that interaction with your family in that regard?
I grew up learning. I learned history. I learned dedication, hard work. Our family business, one of them was Tax Center of America, and that's CENTRE, still existing to this day in Manhattan, New York. And I would see my family just working hard, and it was just a lot of values. And the food, the culture, we never had to go to a farmer's market. We grew our own food in the Bronx, in the yard. Grandfather was a fisherman. Always had fish, and a lot of these issues in the States around poor eating and eating edible items that aren't food, there wasn't a thing. And so I was very fortunate, and for my family, they came over here just to work hard, and they kept their culture, they kept our heritage, and you know, but we were kind of naive coming to the States. I remember one time we wanted to move into Pennsylvania, all the way from New York. We didn't stay that long because we were the only people of color out there at the time. We went between Scranton and the Poconos, but we bought a bunch of property, worked hard, saved up, and they thought that New York City was going to expand through New Jersey to Pennsylvania. So they thought they were in early on the game.
Yeah.
About 15 years later, we sold that land.
Right.
Yeah. So
it just didn't move.
No, New York. It was silly, but that's how naive we were. But you know, there's pros and cons to everything. It was still a beautiful experience to be able for my family to come here and build business. We owned a newspaper called African American and Caribbean Voices. As a child, I got to meet Coretta Scott King and spend time with her, and spend time with Al Sharpton. So we were very active in the community, and we brought a lot of our political strengths from the islands to New York.
How did that shape you growing up to meet someone, Coretta Scott King, like to be able to meet her and just understanding that movement, and not just in the States, but just around the world when it comes to people of the diasporas, they like to call it, the African people in any landmass, and that change. Like, how did that make you feel? Or were you too young at that time to really understand it?
I was very young. However, by the time I got to college, just all that background, all of that rich cultivation of self-worth and community, which is all embedded inside of me. And having these people that were fighting for African American rights. I even got to hand out flyers for Jesse Jackson's campaign in 1985.
Wow.
And my father and Jesse Jackson were cool. And I didn't know the gravity of it because when you're 5 years old, 6 years old, or I don't know how old I was, well, maybe 7 years old at that time, you would think that slavery was hundreds of years ago. And when you're a child, it was very naive coming over here, not realizing that I was only less than one generation separated from the civil rights movement. And by the time I was 15, the reality shifted, and then all this rich culture came to me of who we are. And actually, let me back up. When I was 15, I was like, wow, this is intense country to be in for people of color. And even as a Jamaican man of color here, I remember that African Americans and Jamaicans didn't get along. It was strange to me how easily people were divided. And I mean, I'm both. So I had to bridge the gap between African American culture, regular traditional American culture, and Jamaican culture.
Man. And that's all at 15 to have that like epiphany, like, wow, it's crazy. So from there, college-wise, what did you focus in college, or what did your parents say you needed to be, and then what did you decide doing?
Oh, interesting. I'm not going to go into too much.
Okay, that's
because,
fine.
We're here about the beverages.
I know. I want to know the person behind it, and I'm definitely going to reach out and make sure I'm not blocking that.
Yeah, no,
on the
it's
camera.
all good.
I'm
That's
gonna scoot
interesting.
this forward a little bit.
No, that's interesting. So when I chose my degree, my degrees in college, I chose political science, and it was no wonder why, because based on who I was around. And fast forward all the things I was learning, I was like, you know what? Let me join the Air Force. And then I decided to go the easier route to figure it out. I joined the ROTC. And then I did the STAR student status, which didn't make me go in, and I just learned a lot. I was trying to make the world better, and I was like, all right, the military should be a good presence in the world. I was very naive. And then when I was learning what it was that we did, I would say it's half good, half bad, like anything else. There's three sides to a coin. So I'm not trying to go down that political rabbit hole. But as I realized I didn't want to work in government, I decided to go down a path of wellness, where I started studying Eastern medicine for my master's degree, and then also for my doctoral degree. And that's way down the road. I had a whole history of life in between college and my master's, and as well as my doctorate. And the whole thing, the whole foundation was, it's all the same. I wanted to join the military to help people in the world. I wanted to join the wellness world to help people in the world. And as I got older, it was like, how can I make a difference? Because there's many ways to make money. And being the youngest of 13 and having over 100 cousins, I've seen all types of life.
Over 100.
Yeah. And so the whole premise of my schooling was, how do I have physical wellness while having a positive impact in the world? Thus, we have Lo-Fi. Dr. A's Lo-Fi Kava.
That's all. I was about to jump into it, but that's a perfect segue into that aspect. Yeah. So, from that experience, from the seeing the world with the rose-colored glasses and the way that you saw it, even though you're transitioning and learning these different aspects of what it is to be in the United States, being a person of color, then your entrepreneur aspect came, or was already there, because your family already had businesses, they had property. So then Lo-Fi comes into play as a win. When did it all merge so you can say, this is the way I want to go?
You know, the divine, it's the roots were there before I even knew they were there. Lo-Fi Kava, or I should say Dr. A's Lo-Fi Kava, came about after the pandemic. As a practitioner of Eastern medicine, I had a wellness center, a wellness lounge. And that lounge was based on my past experience. So going through college, I had to work. I didn't have no free ticket, no silver or gold spoon or platinum spoon. And the wellness lounge I built, it was 2,000 square feet. And by day, we did acupuncture there, and treatment rooms, massage, therapy, education classes. But we also created a floor that was for dancing, freestyle movements that grew into yoga, acrobatics. Downstairs was a cafe lounge, and people would come in and throw their parties there. We had teachers from India coming in, Mahavir Swami came in, and he specializes in making your own inks out of minerals. And then they would catch the squirrels, not kill them. They would take the squirrels and trim the hair and make their own brushes to make their art. And it turns out the squirrel hair holds more water and ink than any other thing you could buy here in the States. And we had crazy classes like that. We had Eka Bhumi teaching classical Indian arts and all these amazing things. And then we decided not to ever have alcohol. And one of my journeys, I did a meditative trip to Hawaii, Honolulu, and I met these Fijians who had Kava Kava out there. So in 2016, I got found in 2015. In 2016, I started serving it in the Wellness Center. And it was a dope segue or a dope find, because as an herbalist, I knew how to prepare herbs from my Chinese medical background, or Eastern medical background, whatever you call it. And in learning how to extract the active ingredients in herbs, I started to extract the active ingredient in Kava Kava. And if you don't know what Kava Kava is, you should learn about it. You could travel anywhere in the South Pacific Islands, from Honolulu, Hawaii, over to Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu, Fiji, which is where we get our kava from, and Vanuatu, even New Zealand. They drink Kava Kava in its root form. So I applied my Eastern medical ways of extracting out the active ingredients, very similar to how I was extracting out herbs for my patients. And what we didn't talk about yet is my background of how I made money in college. I was a wine/bartender.
Okay.
I worked at a place called Campagna in Fresno, California.
Okay.
And this was a top, high-level Italian-style restaurant. And as a Jamaican yard boy, I was working the tables, and I never heard of this kind of wine before, like red wine. I know as a token at the time, I figured it out. But I sold 8 bottles of Opus 1. It was like $385 a bottle. And I was like, what is this? Blows on skirts. Who's gonna spend this on 8 bottles? It was like 8 guys or something. It was strange. So, to my benefit, I didn't realize, I just started asking questions. And I found out the school I was at happened to be one of the top schools in California or the United States to study viticulture and enology, which is the study of wine, next to UC Davis. Most people know that UC Davis is spot, but Fresno State has a massive, amazing wine program. So I started to take my electives and study winemaking and the history of wine. Yeah. So I'm going to bring it back full circle. I wanted to drop that in there.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah. So in my mind, when I came across this kava product and we didn't want to have alcohol products in the wellness lounge, my mind went back to my roots in college for my electives that when I studied viticulture and enology. Oh, that's our baby girl. Yeah, she's sweet. She's out of school. So I started making drinks. And then I contacted Adam Lamro from Old Can Brewery. You might know him. Yeah, a good homie. We have great times together when we were running Chop Bar back in the day when I was working over there.
Okay.
I also did that during my master's program.
Man.
Yeah, Jamaican. I told you Jamaican, right?
All over the place.
Yeah.
Making it happen.
Well, it's full circle, all of it. So, again, when we decided in the wellness lounge to not have alcohol, we had teas, and when I found out about this kava beverage, I knew how to extract it, and then I applied what I learned from viticulture and enology at Fresno State. Consulted with Adam Lamro, and then I also was fortunate enough to incubate and just learn about flavor making in the beer industry with 21st Amendment Brewery as well with Sean Sullivan. And that was a beautiful journey. He just took me on those wings. Yeah, big up, just trying to teach me. And then I even got down with Mario from Hella Coastal, and we're gonna do a collab pretty soon.
Let's go, man! Can't wait.
Yeah. So I just started going to my roots and my community, and I was making these drinks. And we just had a lounge. It was a wellness lounge. You could get teas, herbs, all types of fun stuff. Fast forward to the creation of Lo-Fi Kava, our wellness lounge or Kava lounge. The official name was supposed to open March 25th of 2020. And if you remember what happened in California or in the rest of the world,
yeah, we know. The shutdown.
We got shut down March 15th, I believe,
it's had to be
2020.
It was right after. It was literally right after the San Francisco Beer Gala.
And it was a blow to our soul because we just invested a ton of money in building out this infrastructure in downtown. The Wellness Lounge was taking years to build. Like we got it going in by the end of 2015, but it was stages. Every 5 years we had a 5-year plan of growth.
Yeah.
So lo and behold, we were just making drinks. And people were like, "Can I still get that Kava?" And we're like, so I went out, figured out how to bottle it. Then we bought, then that became unsustainable. It was too heavy, couldn't ship it. Fast forward, got a can machine a year later. Couldn't keep, at first we were excited, tried doing that for a while to our local people. And I think around that time is when I talked to Adam Lamro, then I met Sean, and then I met a few other people that were just putting me on game on how to get to scale to get into commercial cans, commercial building. Into commercial canning. And I would have to say the pandemic is the cause of Lo-Fi. We had to eventually rebrand and shut down operations, figure it out, and we picked up a law firm called Grunder. And I can't remember the whole entire Grunder, but they're amazing. They helped me out so much, just understanding how to get my papers right and set up the corporation. We are Lo-Fi Kava is now a public benefit corporation, so it's not funds first, but it's people's first. Everything that we do. So massive shout out to Grunder Law Firm, and if you check them out, they invest in startups. They represent the most amount of startups globally, and they invest specifically in those who are innovating. So I really give big ups to them for recognizing me in my journeys. But back to what your initial question is, how did this get started? I'd have to say,
you answered.
A journey.
The journey,
but the pandemic is what sparked Lo-Fi because we couldn't do the lounge and we just needed to get cans in hands.
Now, how, with that aspect of COVID and literally taking this whole business structure of we're going to do a brick and mortar, are you now just like no brick and mortar, or are you just like brick and mortar can still happen? Like,
nah, it could maybe happen down the road, but right now, cans in hands is the goal. Learning that I could have a bigger social impact by getting millions of these cans out, where we're taking people off the streets who would be normally drinking and driving, giving them a whole other way to party, have a good time. That's the mission right now. So I don't mind being a brick and mortar, but what's more importantly, all these other brick and mortars. If you go to Florida, the Kava market actually took off in the 80s. And if you go to Florida, there's over 180 Kava lounges. And if you look in California, they're on the growth. Like Oakland has several right now, San Francisco has several. And I believe that you should have Kava in every bar. You should have Dr. A's Lo-Fi Kava in every bar,
that's right,
restaurant, cafe. Because we mimic beer flavors. We have Caribbean Haze, which is a Caribbean style ginger beer, which is our take on hazy IPA. And with the infusion, you get the nice buzz, the nice flavors. You stay hydrated. You get no hangover, no bloating. Come on, you don't get bloated and you get buzzed? It's amazing. We have sweet mandarin. We have Tahitian citrus, our tribute to our Tahitian brethren. It has amazing pineapple flavor. And then our modern traditional, you could use that to make a mocktail. You can use the sweet mandarin and nice and strong to make a mocktail. So every bar, restaurant, cafe, lounge can be a Kava bar.
Now, what are the medicinal benefits for Kava? Because I mean, this is my first time hearing about Kava as a whole. So when you broke it down on how it's been used multiple other places in the world, and now it seems to be springing up here in the States. It seems like we got to know something about it. Because most people always ask that question.
Yeah.
What's the benefits of it? Why is it so good?
So number one, Dr. A's Lo-Fi Kava makes no claims. That's just straight up out there. As a practitioner of Eastern medicine, I definitely know it helps calm nerves, calms anxiety. It definitely, I've seen it with my patients. It appears to reduce cortisol levels, which is the fight or flight hormone when people feel anxious or they can't sleep. I've had patients who've had it where they have insomnia forever, and then they drink a can or two, and they're like, wow. But that's of a prescription strength. For the social strength is what we put in the Lo-Fi cans, which is more like it's a nice thing. And for me, it's like having a little bit of Sensimilia. Maybe, Sensi, it's a different strain of ganja.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah. But it's just very calming. And how we use it, we use a waka blend. And there's like over 70 varieties of kava on the planet. And to back up to your question more directly, kava is a plant, and it comes from the root of the plant, of the pepper mycelium. And yeah, it's in the pepper family, and traditionally you would juice the root to get the active ingredients out of it called kava lactones. And the kava lactones are psychoactive, but it's psychoactive in a way where it's like a modulator. You don't become addicted to it. You don't become dependent on it. You feel me? So, yeah, man, I think, and I know there's a lot of health benefits. And as the procurer of the recipe, I definitely add things like ginger and turmeric to it. And again, those have their own health benefits. But as a company, we're not making any claims. Yeah.
I'm just telling you, put on your doctorate hat for a minute and talk about it.
Yeah.
So as far as when it comes to having people sample this and talking to them about why this is a better alternative, how has the response been for these people that you let them sample the product? I know, hey, only
blood, baby. Yeah.
In the town.
Repeat the end of that.
I'm sorry. I was like, what's their response to it? Like, how are they like? Oh, this is good, and I'm gonna get more people to come.
This is why we're growing. We just launched our Lo-Fi Kava website 2.0, which now has a subscription panel, and people are already subscribing on the monthly, getting it in. And we have a membership platform coming. We also have an NFT coming out very soon. We're working with another group. I'll give that plug. We're gonna let you know about that in the future. Hush, hush. So there's so much love around this, and that's why we grew from bottles. We couldn't ship them; it was too heavy. We didn't have that clout yet in the shipping industry. Where now we're finally in where we're getting discounted shipping, so we can give discounts. Where if someone purchases something over $100, they could get free shipping, and we just because we're at that volume. So I think, I know that the math speaks for itself.
Can you talk more about that when it comes to distribution and that side of the business? Because right now, and I know in Georgia, I know here in California at the California Craft Brewers Association, National Black Brewers Association was talking about this aspect of brewers being able to sell and self-distribute. Why is it such a challenge, why is it such a challenge to get involved in when it comes to shipping and distribution? Because, like you said, it was too heavy for you to ship, but you were building up. But they were like, we don't know you, type of thing. Is it more of still of a network-oriented type of situation?
Ding, 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 ding. So,
because it doesn't. Even if the numbers add up, if you don't know somebody who knows somebody, or you're not good in that relationship, I'll let you talk.
I got to be careful here because so distribution is crazy around the country. In Georgia, our poor brethren over there, they're not even allowed to self-distribute their own brew.
Right.
Crazy. And we're not getting into that because that's a fight for them. I got your back. But we'll talk about that later. Here, what I know is that with distribution, you have to have an X amount of volume. And then if it doesn't move out here, and it's not an issue that I'm dealing with personally, but our brethren are, if it doesn't move, then if a distribution network buys 2 pallets and only one sells, you have to buy it back from them. Plus whatever they spent to advertise it. It's weird. It's crazy. So we actually I self-distribute, and now I have a team. We're a corporation. We do our self-distribution. We teamed up with another company who helped us with our mailing and fulfillment, our B2C, business to customer, which is dope. So it is about who you know, and I can't give out all the names.
No.
I'm confined by laws, but the greatness about it is that we are being recognized by the beer and wine industry. I am a brewer. I do home brew. I I brew my stuff like traditional brews, but then I have a couple nuances to the steps that where since I don't have alcohol in it, I'm in a better position for distribution than a lot of other people.
So what do you see the market growth for Kava in the United States? You did mention here in Oakland, in San Francisco as well is building up, but is there other states? I mean, Florida as well. Excuse me, Florida. You mentioned Florida as well too. Are there other states where you're like, okay, this is a continual trajectory? Look at the game in words, right? To growth when it comes to Kava and the movement. Pretty much. What
New York City is New York City from Manhattan to Brooklyn. You can find Kava lounges, and I partake in all types of libations. So one of my favorite breweries in Brooklyn is the Brooklyn Brewery. Mm-hmm. But if you go, big up. So if you go right next to them is a place called Kava Social, and they have over 100 Kava drinks on like mocktails.
Wow,
it's crazy. It's fire over there. So back up to get more granular with it. The Kava industry, when we did our research in 2020, was approximately reaching about $1 billion industry globally. So Forbes magazine had it that by 2029, the Kava industry will become at minimum $3.4 billion industry. Now, couple that with Generation Z, who is pretty intelligent, they're consuming the least amount of alcohol and beer, especially beer, than any other generation before them. And they're all going for the adaptogens, they're going for the herbal drinks, they're going for the mocktails, and they're gobbling up Dr. A's Lo-Fi Kava. That's a big part of our market. And, then there's a sober, curious movement as well. As we age, we realize we can't drink as much. It's not as good for our bodies. There's a lot of studies that are coming out now, so people are becoming more woke to the fact that, hey, like, these good times aren't worth it because there's worse times after these good times drinking so much. So Generation X, some millennials, but Generation X is highly sober curious. And people like August, like, they can't stop drinking. Because it helps, especially if we see addictions sliding in a little bit more. As you get older, you get into your habits, and you're like, whoa, I'm used to drinking 3 to 5 drinks a pop. That's what I'm hearing, right? So then, it's like, sober curious folks will either just default to Lo-Fi Kava, or they'll have a couple adult drinks and then switch over to Dr. A's Lo-Fi Kava and keep their buzz going. And when we tested this back in 2021, we were out with a bunch of families. We went out to a community pool area, slides, and I supplied the drinks in our test marketing, just to bring it out. And some people had just 2 adult drinks, but then everyone drank Lo-Fi all day, poolside. And everyone could drive home, no drunkenness, no one got sick. It was just epic, man. It was lit.
So how many times have you done that type of research study like that? Is that every time that you go out to an event and you're documenting those aspects, and then when you have your sensory testing and all that, or like what's your method?
So the method was the acro yoga classes is where it started, and sound healing. Our wellness center that closed down was Mahari Wellness. We left the website up so people could still have referrals to the practitioners and all that. And that's when I brought it back from Hawaii and Honolulu, wherever it was. I brought it back to her, started making it, and I saw the reaction. And that was my test. So I had 4 years of just seeing people react right here in downtown Oakland, like you're at Broadway. And from there, we started doing events like Fam Bam. We're now in Oktoberfest for the last 2 years. San Francisco Beer Festival for the last 2 years. And Sierra Nevada World Music Festival last year was fire. But usually you see Lagunitas or one of my favorite wines is Navarro Winery. And so now we're giving them we're right there next to all the other brewers. And we are also a part of the National Black Brewers Association. Big up to them. And
shout out.
Yeah, we're growing, and I have all this empirical data that we've taken down, and then sales is how we see it. We were just at Black Joy Parade, sold out. And when we were in the Black Brewers Beer Garden, you were there.
Yeah.
This weekend, we are in the VIP lounge at the Oakland Marathon with the Steph and Aisha Curry Foundation, and and instead of giving out and selling beer in the beer garden to runners, they now have Dr. A's Lo-Fi Kava as their NA beverage of choice.
Man, that's what's up.
Right? So it's just back to it. Like, how do I do it? I just do it. You know, Jamaican style. I just put it out there.
Good work.
Yeah.
Man. So, so you're, the resume question. But what's your overall vision, and where are you at in that overall vision?
Well, I just achieved a milestone of being able to scale from 12 barrels to 100 barrels at will, at any time. A barrel is 31 gallons, so we're talking anywhere from 375 gallons of flavor to 3,000 gallons per flavor. So back to scaling, we just achieved the ability to scale, so we could supply stadiums, airlines. To talk about the vision, this was the long-term vision, but you can't supply airlines or stadiums or festivals without being able to scale. So that milestone was just hit 2024 first quarter. We were delayed quite a bit, and from there I just alluded to it. We want to be the healthy beverage at the NFL. We want to be on the airplane at Southwest Airlines. We want to be at the Symphony. Anywhere where you could have an alcohol drink, that's where Dr. A's Lo-Fi Kava should be.
Man. Hey, this is what I'm talking about. This is the type of conversation with entrepreneurs and people who really take their journey through life and find something where it's like, I'm gonna go that route, and just follow that path, and deal with the bumps in the roads, the potholes, twists and winds. So man, it was a pleasure, man. So where can people find Lo-Fi Kava? Make sure they get right here, Lo-Fi Kava.
So one, you can go to the website and order and get a subscription. We'll send it right to your door anywhere in the United States. The Howden grocery store has it right now. Three Rings Market is a corner store right around the corner, and they're affiliated with some other location where I don't know where they're going, but they're going. Many corner stores right now. We haven't hit the big stores yet. I've been wary on those contracts and working with the distributors and all that what is it, politics of working with them. So local distribution right now, self-distributing. We are looking at Mindful Distribution as a partner here locally. They do NA drinks and like higher level beverages local, from San Jose up to Sacramento and here in the Bay Area. So Mindful Distributors, we're talking with them a little bit. We'll see what happens. And in the meantime, shipping online, B2C. We're doing a tasting right now. We have a new partner who joined the team. He's down in Cabo. There's a new Cabo Lounge going down there, and Dr. A's they're tasting it right now. I think I can feel them tasting it. Yeah.
Continuing the journey.
That's right.
August, it's been a pleasure, man.
All right.
Hey,
appreciate you.
Go check it out, Lo-Fi Kava. If you haven't had it, you're doing yourself a disservice.
LoFiKava.com.
We'll catch you on the next episode of Beer Talk Now.
Peace.